as you're talking about the challenging times that you're in right now, I mean, you yourself and Mayor Olivia Chow, it's a very precarious time. You're faced with a lot of different issues. How do you stay strong? How do you, keep your focus when you're dealing with, some of the challenges that are brought to you and some of the criticism that's facing you?
Yeah, absolutely. And it is really, there's so many big and urgent priorities that we have to deal with, and that is also what has been my commitment from the very start. The reason why I ran in the first place is because our challenges around affordable housing, around making sure that we're investing in public services, and that we can have a city where we can imagine a future is really what I'm grounded in. And it is that commitment that is what drives me, right? Is that clarity and that shared kind of direction around really being serious about making sure that everyone in the city can have a safe place to call home, right? Where we have public transit and city services that we can be proud of, right? And where we can see whether it's schools or community centers, parks and green space, thriving businesses, that all of that kind of adds up to what builds the character in a city. Arts and culture that we can be proud of, places where artists and culture makers can see a future for themselves. All the different aspects of what makes an incredible city is really, really important to me. And I stay grounded and focused on that. And that isn't to say that there aren't challenges for that, but for me, what I have seen, especially living and working in our downtown and representing our downtown communities for over several years and having that experience, is that too often our expectations are lowered, right? That we should only be asking for or looking for the bare minimum in our city. And we, as someone who loves this city, and I know so many people who share their love for Toronto, that part of that love is that we want to be able to show up and be an example, right? To push forward, right? To have higher expectations, and that is really exciting. And that is such an important driver for me. And it's really tough, right? We have so many practical constraints, and we do have to be looking at practical, thoughtful solutions in order to move that forward. And it doesn't mean that, and of course that comes with its own set of criticism, right? And it comes with a lot of folks who have many different ideas that will be different from your own. And you know what, for me, I welcome a different perspective. I do welcome people looking at the policies or their approaches and saying, I don't agree. And this is how I would do it differently. I think that is, that sort of dynamic tension is how we get to better things. I think what is really challenging is, when our discourse and the engagement that we have isn't about the actual substance or the issues or your approach. It's personal, right? About who you are.
It's the differing opinion.
It's about who you are as a person, or how you're showing up, or how you're looking, and all of that. And I think especially as a woman and a person of color and a person of who's of obvious faith, that there are a lot of other dimensions to that, which goes beyond criticism, right? And it kind of creeps into the space where it is very difficult for so many people to see themselves giving leadership to the issues and the areas that they want to, because it is very harmful, right?
Absolutely.
And it is very, very challenging and difficult. When I was elected to the Toronto District School Board, it wasn't until after I was elected that I found out, and it was actually through the Toronto Star did some research and found that I was the first hijab-wearing Muslim woman to be elected to public office in Canada. And such a deep honor. And it, of course, is so meaningful to me. This community made victory to my parents and the circle who I care about. But it's also like a wake-up call. It's such a sobering reality that in a city like ours, that is the most diverse in the country, we would say even in the world, that we are still breaking barriers. And that was 2014, right? And then in 2022, when I was elected, I discovered that I was the first Muslim to be elected to city council. And, those are amazing barrier-breaking, community-made wins. And we also have to ask the question, why are we still,
Right.
you know, accomplishing firsts like this
That's right.
in a city like ours?
Yeah.
And it's because the barriers are high and they are challenging and they are persistent. And what I am excited about in this role, seeing Mayor Chow breaking barriers as as mayor, and so many of my colleagues breaking barriers as city councilors, right?
Yeah.
Demonstrating firsts in different parts of the city and in showing up who they are, is that it's not just about, you know, those pieces of representation alone. It's what it brings with it, right?
Yes.
It brings an experience and it brings a set of, you know, ways of working. It brings values with it. And there has to be that representation.
Different
and
experiences, yeah.
absolutely. And that our decision-making, because of those experiences, will be richer, more effective, more far-reaching, and more connected to the people who we're representing, right?
Exactly.
That is the important piece around us having more people in leadership, I would say at the city level, but everywhere where decisions are made, who can reflect our experiences and who we can connect to. That's why it's so important. And we have to be really, really real about what those challenges look like too. The last thing I'll say just on this is that, you know, for me, again, the commitment from the very start has been to ensure that there is a sense of openness and welcome at City Hall from me and my team. And that means, you know, inviting young people from across the city and our communities to visit City Hall, to see where decisions about our lives and livelihoods are made, right? To not be intimidated by that space, right? To be able to feel that sense of belonging. I worked with one of there's a diversity fellowship program at City Hall, and one of the fellows who had been in our office initiated a program for young Muslim women to be able to, you know, engage at City Hall on what civic leadership looks like, right? And what that might mean for them and how they might get involved. So doing even more of that is really exciting to me, and it means that, you know, some future generations might choose City Hall as a pathway to demonstrate their leadership, but that there's so many different places where their leadership is really necessary and required, so that we can have a city that we're really proud of and that is shaped by their ambitions, their commitment to its future.